in all three general debates between Mr. Trump and Secretary Clinton, energy and climate really only came up when Mrs. Clinton forced it to come up. And last night it really didn't come up at all. So obviously we feel as if that's a big missed opportunity for America. But, you know, the debates are over, so we've pushed all year long to try and elevate this topic in American minds, and I think that's happened. But for some reason, it's never really made it onto the general debate stage.
You've made this effort, you've put millions of dollars behind this effort to make climate change something that voters care about. You look at polling, it's not at the top of the list yet. How do you make it something more voters care about?
Well, the fact of the matter is voters do care about it. You just have to break down the electorate. So the first thing I'd say is voters have moved on this regardless of political party or demographic. If you ask Republican voters in Ohio, do you want the government to accelerate the move to clean energy? You get a 75% yes. Republican voters in Ohio, and everybody else goes up from there towards 100. So the fact of the matter is, all of the voters, regardless of how you ask the question, have moved really dramatically over the last 2 years. The issue is the one you brought up, David, which is where do they prioritize it? How urgent do they see it is that we make this move? And what I would say is, if you look at people under the age of 30, this is really their number one issue.
You're targeting young people. You are funding Get Out the Vote efforts. This was, for such a long time, the purview of the parties. Now you have groups like yours doing it. Amidst this conversation about the future of political parties, what happens to the Republican Party, what happens to the Democratic Party in light of the primary that we saw between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, what do you see that future of parties being? Is it going to be as important as it has been?
Well, I think that one of the things that we see in dealing with people under the age of 35 is that their party identification is much lower than previous generations, regardless of whether it's, you know, I think Democrats are doing relatively much better than Republicans, but in general, that age group is much more likely to care and to be passionate about issues and ideas than they are about parties. And I think that, you know, we are trying to do the traditional American political job of encouraging people to talk to each other about the issues they care the most about. And if that is the future of American politics, that the American citizenry engages with each other to discuss the future and the things they care the most about, that seems to me to be an incredibly encouraging and positive sign, and one that we're extremely proud to be part of.
Your background is in business. You've spent millions of dollars on this. What's the metric by which you judge whether or not that money is being spent effectively? Is it simply what happens on November 8th, or along the way are you taking stock of what's going on?
Well, when we think about November 8th, there will be an awful lot of things out of our control. So, for instance, whatever Mr. Trump did or didn't do off stage in 1995 will have a big impact on election results. What we try and do is measure what it is that we're encouraging, what the results are directly of what we do, so we can figure out, is it important, does it do better? So we'll look and see how many people, we're going to turn out millions of people. We're going to have signed up hundreds of thousands or a million people to register and vote. We will have metrics we'll be able to see after the fact who voted. We won't be able to tell how, but you sign in, you can tell who voted. We'll be able to see how many people we've touched, what difference we've made, and how we can do it better. So from our standpoint, we're very metric driven, and we can see that the traditional American behavior of talking to each other is more powerful than TV ads, is more powerful than anything else. It's just a big organizational task to get people to knock on those doors, to get people to talk to each other, to actually organize the human beings to make that conversation possible.
I listened to the rhetoric on Get Out the Vote efforts, what Democrats are saying versus what Republicans are saying, and I'm surprised that it's such a partisan issue. Are you as well, that you have Republicans here sounding the alarm about the prospects of voter fraud so loudly?
Am I surprised? I consider it to be preposterous. I really do. I think I think everyone's focused on the word offensive, and I think that word is okay, but I think that the idea that somehow this is preposterous. It shows, you know, it's a desperation statement. The fact of the matter is, when you look at 140 million votes, I don't know how many truckloads of pieces of paper he thinks are being stolen. That is a preposterous and ignorant claim, and it's one that I think everyone keeps talking about, you know, oh, this could be destabilizing. I find it ridiculous, and I think it makes him look ridiculous.
Let me ask you about the degree to which the money you're spending now is an anti-Trump bet. You got into political giving in earnest, not in this campaign, but in the campaign previous to this in 2014. How does Donald Trump in this campaign change your calculus when it comes to political giving?
Well, I mean, we've tried to look at this campaign in terms of what was going to be close that we really cared about. And obviously, the presidency is the most important position in American politics by far. I mean, especially this time when the Supreme Court is so much in play. The fact of the matter is, I think Mr. Trump at this point is most important in terms of how much does he infect his whole party. And that's a question to which no one really has an answer. But the fact of the matter is, what we've been doing is away from Mr. Trump, almost away from Secretary Clinton. What we've really been trying to do is engage voters in California and outside California on the issues and have them have a conversation with as much information as possible and do it in person repeatedly, so when the time comes, we have the broadest, best informed electorate, because we believe that's how we get the best answer. So really, we have not been so focused. I mean, of course we care about the races, but by and large, we are extremely proud to be part of the traditional American process, issue-driven, very passionate, but with a broader agenda than even just the most important race.